Thank you very much for joining us. I'm really sorry it's a few minutes late, but the kind of technical issues and all that kind of jazz. We're trying this out for the first time, but thank you very much to our very first Chelmsford City Council Cabinet question and answer session, which we are bringing to you by the magic of modern technology. My name is Marie Goldman. I'm the Deputy Leader of Chelmsford City Council. We have on here this evening, we have Councillor Stephen Robinson, who's the leader of the City Council. We also have Councillor Chris Davidson, who is the Cabinet Member for Fairer Chelmsford, Cabinet Member Councillor Mike McCrory for Greener Chelmsford, and deputising for Councillor Jude Deakin this evening, we have Councillor Rose Moore for a Safer Chelmsford. So the way this is going to work is it's going to be really, really, really informal. This is the first time that we've done this, and we're, trying out the technology, but we thought it was really important that we found a way to communicate directly with residents across Chelmsford in a way that we would do if we were holding public meetings face to face, physically in the council chamber or elsewhere in the council buildings. So we're trying this out. So if it doesn't work exactly as we'd like, then please bear with us and we'll see what we can do for next time. So the way this is going to work is that I'm going to be facilitating the meeting. So we've had lots of questions submitted to us in advance already. And we're going to go through some of those, lots of you asking lots of questions about what the council is doing during this crisis, and how our services are operating. So I'm going to be fielding some of those questions and passing them over to the various cabinet members so that they can answer you directly. And if we've got some time at the end, and if we've had any questions through Facebook Live, and if we can fit any of those in, we will try and do so. So we're going to start off with, I'm going to bring in Councillor Robinson, because I'd really like him to give just an overview of how does the council work in these times. This is obviously an emergency, but how do councils prepare for this? What have we done? Councillor Robinson, if you could give us an overview of that would be great.
Yeah, hello everyone. Well, sort of 3-4 weeks ago, the council started to completely reorganise itself. The council has backup plans in place for civil emergencies like floods and so on, but obviously this is on a scale that we've never seen before. So every department has been going through their emergency plans and working out what things are non-urgent and that we can stand down for a while, and working out how we can keep the essential services running still, whilst respecting the social distancing guidelines about keeping at least 6 feet apart from everybody else. So the council offices have gradually, a lot of staff who are based there have gone to home working, and other frontline operational staff are still doing their jobs, keeping those essential frontline services going, and I'm sure we'll have a few questions about that. So basically, the council has reorganised itself to cope in this new situation, and we are going to keep the essential services going for as long as we possibly can, subject of course to staffing issues. So for a lot of services, it's business as usual in what they're still delivering, but they are delivering it in a different way under the new sort of environment that we're operating in. But we want to do the best we can for the people of Chelmsford and keep those essential services running.
Okay, thanks very much for that. So we're going to move on to one of the topics that we are getting contacted about a lot, and probably very understandably, because it's one of the most public-facing things that the council looks after, and that's our parks. And we're going to talk about that and about social distancing. We have been getting a lot of questions on this topic. So these are questions that are coming in through social media, so Twitter, Facebook, also through the council's websites, and emails that we've been receiving, and a lot of them along the same kind of lines. We've kind of been grouping them together, and I'm going to pull out just a few of them that are fairly typical. So I'm going to ask Councillor Moore to answer just some of the questions that we've been receiving. So the first one is a tweet from somebody who's described themselves as Access Fulfilment on Twitter, interesting Twitter handle. So why is Highlands shut to cars? And they said, I have no pavements for walking myself or my dogs along, and I'm not near any public footpaths. Councillor Moore, what would you say to that resident?
It's very important that at a time like this, we're all working together. Highlands Park is such a beautiful location, and it's not just well loved by people of Chelmsford, but we're also aware that people will travel from across Essex. Government guidance is that people should, if at all possible, not travel far to exercise, and we should stay local. And so reluctantly, we had a debate about this last week. It wasn't an easy decision to take, but we found that we had to make this decision now to ensure that people wouldn't have to be isolating for so long across Essex. Government guidance.
We've also had another comment in this time through Facebook, kind of carrying on from that, I guess. This is from somebody called John, and he says, I'd like to know that now Highlands has been closed to vehicles, why has the road to the gates not been closed off, and why are vehicles still being allowed to park on the approach roads?
This matter is actually a highways matter, and Essex Police are aware of this and are beginning to enforce that parking, which is obviously not acceptable. For example, on last Sunday, I understand that enforcement's now in place, which means that they're able to advise drivers and engage with them and advise them to exercise locally.
Okay, thank you. There's an interesting tweet that came in, and this is kind of an example of questions that are obviously going through lots of people's minds. They said, are there any plans to prioritise park access to those who have no gardens? Now, of course, there are lots of people who do live in flats, and some of those flats don't even have any balconies, so it's really difficult to get outside to get some fresh air, to get that exercise. So is there any way that the parks could be prioritised in that way?
It would be extraordinarily difficult to implement any kind of priority service. All I'd say is that it's been shown in the last few weeks that we are all working together. We can work together, and we can be mindful of other people's needs. And if people have access to local green spaces, and we're very fortunate to have lots of those in Chelmsford, then please stay local and stick to your 1 hour of exercise. If we're lucky enough to have gardens, we should be using our garden space, because we need to be mindful of people who don't necessarily have access to private green space and need to use the parks. So it's about sharing out the time and the space that we have, and ensuring that that social distancing, which is crucial to stopping the spread of this terrible thing, is upheld, and that people respect each other's space.
So I guess it is about sharing out the space that we've got, and the fewer people that are going to the parks, the more space there is, so therefore the easier it is to socially distance from each other. There are questions coming in, and I'd like to bring in Councillor Robinson on this. We've had a tweet from somebody called Richard, who says, who's talking about Arran Park car park, for example, but I'm sure that this applies to other places as well, saying, too many drivers are using it to take dogs for walks and families turning up with kids to play. That's not essential, and he's using the hashtag stay home, save lives. And an email saying, what should I do if I want to report someone not observing social distancing rules in one of Chelmsford parks? Councillor Robinson, what would be your response to that?
Yeah, I think it's really important that we remember that the whole purpose of these rules is to ensure that we keep apart from other human beings, apart from those that we live with. And that is the fundamental point of all of these rules. It's to keep us all safe, keep at a safe distance. That doesn't mean you can't drive. It means that you shouldn't be driving long distances. And the government's very clear that, you need to have a reasonable excuse for leaving the house. And one of those is exercise. Getting exercise is good for physical and mental health, and that people do need to get out and about. But when they are out and about, they need to keep away from other people. So they should be using our parks, but using them responsibly. And it's absolutely great that the vast majority of people are doing exactly that. And that's what we want. We want to encourage responsible behaviour. So that's why our parks are open, and they're going to stay open for as long as people carry on doing what they've been doing. If anybody sees anybody who is breaking the law, then you can call the police, Essex Police, on 101. But the bottom line is the vast majority of people are doing the right thing. They're keeping socially distant, and that is the key thing to stop the spread of this horrible virus. Keep at a distance, whether you're in the park or doing your essential shopping. It's keep a distance from everybody else, and that's the way that we'll all stay safe.
Thanks for that. I mean, I think it's so difficult for people as well, you know, especially we're coming into spring, the weather's been gorgeous over the last few days, and we naturally want to be out and about. Of course we do, you know, it's been an incredibly long and wet winter, and of course we want to get out and about, but, you know, we've got Easter weekend coming up, and, you know, again, the weather forecast looks like it's going to be pretty nice, but we really do have to keep home as much as possible, and only go out if you absolutely have to, only go out for those essential journeys. So we're doing, by and large, really the people of Chelmsford are doing a great job at socially distancing, and I know that has been recognised by Essex Police as well. So, you know, we have to recognise that we are in this critical battle against COVID-19, and what we all do now is really, really important, and we need to be able to look back on how we behaved and how we acted in years to come. We need to be able to look back on this time and be proud of ourselves, and know that it was hard, but that we got through it, and we did it because we all did it together. So yeah, just thank you for that. Please do keep following those social distancing rules. Just moving on to a slightly different topic now. One of the things that people have, are so concerned about during this pandemic is how to pay bills and, keep businesses afloat. We've had so many people calling in and emailing us asking, what help is available. So we're going to start talking about council tax, and I'm going to bring in Councillor Chris Davidson to talk about this, and let's take a look at our first question, which came in via the web. It said, I'm struggling to pay my council tax. Can I defer my payment? And can you offer me any other help? Councillor Davidson.
The short answer is yes, we can defer payments. I'll unpack that a bit. If you can afford to pay your council tax, please pay it. We need the money. We have important payments that we need to make. But of course, we understand that many people are in financial difficulties as a consequence of the coronavirus crisis. And of course, we'll support you. We've suspended reminders for now, recognising this. And if you are in this situation, then the first thing to do is to contact the council. There is a form on our website that you can fill in, and that will enable you to ask for help to defer payment. Officers will be sympathetic to that. They're happy to agree to defer payments. The council tax remains payable in those circumstances, but you can pay it later. There are, of course, some people on low incomes who will actually be entitled to a reduction in their council tax as a consequence of their income having evaporated. For those people, instead of a deferral, there will actually be a reduction, although only a part will remain payable. The first step there is to contact the DWP to claim universal credit. But at the same time as doing that, please do claim council tax reduction. There is another form on our website that you can fill in to do that. And in either of those situations, we will accept future direct debit payments according to what we've agreed with you. But if you have a direct debit that's due next Wednesday, the 15th of April, and you can't afford to pay it, please contact your bank now and ask them to stop the payment, because otherwise it may go through inadvertently, and we don't want that.
Okay, thanks very much for that. Councillor Robinson, we do get a few people contacting us and saying, well, why should I have to pay my council tax at all? You know, why can't I just stop paying council tax? You know, can you maybe explain a little bit about how council tax works and what would happen if everybody stopped paying their council tax?
Yeah, the council tax is an important part of the council's income, and the City Council collects the council tax on behalf of Essex County Council, Essex Police and Essex Fire and Rescue. And so basically our council tax, or your council tax, goes to pay police officers, PCSOs, firefighters, people who work in care homes, people who are caring for the elderly and vulnerable, people who are still working in schools, so the educational support workers, people like that, plus the people who collect the bins, sweep the streets, look after homeless people, all of these essential staff. We pay their salaries out of the council tax that we collect. And so that's why we need to carry on collecting the council tax. Otherwise, we couldn't keep those vital services going. Our income is going down because people aren't using the car parks, the leisure centres and so on, which is understandable. In fact, we don't want them to be using non-essential services. So our income's going down from that side. So the council tax is almost the only income that we've got left. And so we need that to pay our staff to keep those services going.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Going back to you, Councillor Davidson, one of the other things that people are contacting us a lot about is help for businesses. Can you give us some more information on what help there is available? One of the questions we've had come in via the web, somebody said, I run a small business. When will I be able to claim my government grant through you? And could we cover how long it might take for people to be paid, you know, once grants are approved?
There's a range of help for business. Some of it's available via HMRC, but as far as the council is concerned, the government announced grants of either £25,000 or £10,000 for certain businesses. And we're expecting to provide £31 million worth of grants to something like 2,500 local businesses. And for these businesses, we understand that this is going to be vital financial support, and we want to get it to you, if you are one of those businesses, as quickly as possible. There is a simple form online to fill in because we do need some details to enable us to make the payment. Once you've completed that form, sent it in, we will process those payments as quickly as possible. The first payments went out yesterday. They will continue to be paid as our officers work through those applications and make those payments. Unfortunately, though we'll get them out as quickly as we can, there will be some delay. That's unavoidable, but they are being worked through as rapidly as possible.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Robinson mentioned just now about that fewer people are parking in the car parks, which is absolutely to be expected, and as you said, that's absolutely the right thing to be doing at the moment. But of course, people are saying, well, hang on a minute, I've bought a season ticket. I can't use the car parks at the moment. Somebody who wrote in said, I'm not using my car park season ticket as I'm working from home. Can I freeze it? Councillor McCrory, what's the answer to that?
Yes, well, this was something which we did recognise early on, and yes, people can freeze their season tickets if they would like to go to car parks at chelmsford.gov.uk, give in their details, send in their permit, and then that will be effectively frozen until they want to start again when this dreadful business is over, and then when they do want to return, all they have to do is just email back in and their season ticket will be reinstated.
Thank you. So the email address for that to contact the car parks teams is carparks@chelmsford.gov.uk. So if you're in that situation, then please do send them a message. Moving on to a different topic now, we're going to move on to talk about waste, recycling and street care. So our key workers have been working incredibly hard to keep things going as usual over the last few weeks, and our collections are currently operating as normal, and that isn't the same right the way across the country. So I'm incredibly pleased to be able to say that is still happening as normal in Chelmsford, and a huge thanks to the staff who are keeping those collections going. Councillor Moore, we've had a Facebook comment from somebody called John, who says, may I ask why the bin collection policy has not been expanded to include black bags at the side of wheelie bins, considering the dumps are closed and we are in lockdown? And then a related question to that, talking about side waste, which I think is the similar sort of thing. Will side waste be collected now that the household recycling centres are shut? Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Councillor Goldman. As a City Council, we're continuing to operate all of our services at the moment for recycling and waste. And I'd just like to second your compliments to the team in Chelmsford. They're doing an incredible job in servicing all of the residents here. We won't be relaxing a no side waste policy simply because that provision is still in place. As long as residents are mindful and continue to make use of all of the available recycling services curbside that we offer, so ensuring that your waste is compacted and that plastics are crushed and that you're making sure you're separating your food waste. It's a matter of all pulling together again. For context on this, a food waste collection last week was 10 tonnes more than usual, and that's around 80 tonnes a week standard food waste collections. So obviously people may well have bought more and thrown it away because it's gone out of date. So there's advice there that only buy what you need, making sure that you're freezing and you're making the most of your food as well. It's just being mindful, and it's again being part of the team across Chelmsford, everyone working together and keeping our waste and recycling teams safe in their daily work.
Thank you for that. I think, from personal experience, the supermarkets around Chelmsford seem to be pretty well stocked at the moment, and I think they're only, kind of limiting supplies of just a few things, but in general, I think they're pretty well stocked. So I would echo that call to just buy what you need for your household, and then that leaves enough for other people as well. But another related question to the recycling issue, a question coming in via the web said, I've run out of recycling sacks for plastics and I can't get out to get any more. Can you deliver a roll to my house?
We won't be delivering rolls of recycling sacks to houses. I can confirm that residents can use any clear sack for plastics, as part of our climate and emergency declaration and our action plan, reducing the single-use plastics means that we limit households now to 1 roll per year, but that's approximately 1 sack per week for the whole year. So this shouldn't be an issue. And I would just encourage once again to rinse, crush your plastics and be mindful of what you're buying. It's difficult at the moment and we understand that, but yes, compact that waste as much as you possibly can.
And of course, the issue of single-use plastics has not gone away. We do need to reduce our use of single-use plastics. So, even though there's a pandemic going on, there are other crises to worry about as well. And one of them being the single-use plastics and climate change and all those things that we still do need to bear in mind. Councillor Robinson, there are other councils. This is a question that's come in via email, and somebody's brought up the fact that other councils have stopped the collection of garden waste without much notice, which has meant homes have full bins. Stressing again, this is in other councils, not here in Chelmsford. But the person who wrote this says, could you give reassurance that Chelmsford is not intending to do the same? Staying at home as requested by the government means that there is an increase in the amount of garden waste waiting to be collected. I mean, I think, it's the beginning of spring. We're all kind of, at home using our gardens, preparing for, planting season and all that kind of stuff. And now actually a lot of us have maybe a bit more time to do that while we're at home. But what do we think might happen in Chelmsford?
Well, we said that we want to try and keep collecting all the different waste streams for as long as possible. This will be dependent on us having all of our staff in place, and we've had to reorganise the staffing so that they keep at appropriate social distancing measures and keep cleaning and all the rest of it, to keep the equipment clean. So we want to carry on collecting everything, but if people are at home, or not if people are now at home, and now that they're at home, if they want to help, now would be a really good time. If you've got a garden, and creating garden waste would be a really good time to think about whether you could create your own compost heap if you've got space to do that. There is advice on the web about how to do that. The Love Your Chelmsford team, which is part of our environment team, will be able to supply advice about that. But yeah, at the moment we will keep on collecting garden waste for as long as possible. But if you can compost your own, that's a really great thing, because one of the other things that we all need to try and do is actually reduce the amount of waste that we put into the various collection bins, because reducing waste is just as important as recycling it.
Okay, thank you. Talking about, staying on the topic of recycling, we had an email in from somebody called Rupert who said, can I ask why the recycling centres aren't adopting the same process as supermarkets and limiting people in them? They said, I would have expected that a risk assessment would have been carried out, and these control measures would have been put in place. Completely shutting a vital service doesn't make sense longer term and could undermine public confidence in the council. I'm assuming you're talking about the recycling centre up near Sainsbury's. Actually, I know it's a bit confusing, and especially there are lots of things that get confusing about councils, especially when we have multiple tiered councils, like we do here in Chelmsford, where we have parish councils and we have the city council and we also have the county council. And it's especially confusing with recycling because Chelmsford City Council collects the recycling from your doorstep and takes that away from you. But the recycling centre up near Sainsbury's is actually run by Essex County Council. So we don't have any control over that one, but I think it's a good question actually, and maybe something to forward through to Essex County Council. Just keeping an eye as well on some of the comments that are coming in through Facebook. I've noticed that somebody's saying what we're doing about the flyover, and now would be the perfect time to sort out the roundabout and plus sort out all the potholes. Again, Essex County Council and Essex Highways, I'm afraid, with that one. Not trying to have slippery shoulders, but there is a limit to the things that we can control. But we do obviously have to think about the safety of the teams that are working on things as well, and whether they have the capacity to be out working on those things at the moment. But I'll leave that with Essex County Council to answer for you.
I think it's worth saying that on the flyover, yes, as most people know, most of the flyover has now, well, the flyover has been taken down, and the county council is going to be removing all of the sort of the run-up bits over, and the highways will carry on doing highways projects for as long as they can, subject to having the staff and of course respecting all the social distancing rules. So highways is going to carry on, Councillor McCrory and I are both on Essex County Council as well, and we will pass on those messages to the County Council. Thank you.
And then Councillor Moore, everyone's favourite subject. I'm going to be talking about dog poo bins. We had an email in from Lynn. She says, thanks for keeping all the collections going. Thank you for saying that, Lynn. That's really nice of you, and we'll pass that on to the teams. Could you please tell me if there is a reduced service in emptying dog bins? She mentions one in particular that has been overflowing for some time, and she says, I'm hopeful it is a simple oversight as the stench is overpowering. Yes, now in this warm weather, as much as we love the warm weather, it does have a rather adverse effect on dog poo bins. What can you say back to Lynn?
Thank you. Well, indeed, we are aware, and with the warmer weather, this is a particular problem. But our frequency of emptying the dog waste bins is the same, has been the same. But we're realising the amount of waste being deposited in those bins has gone up, presumably because people are taking their dogs in a more local area for walks. And we would please encourage people, if you do see a bin that's brimming, please take your dog waste home with you and put it in your black bin. I have to say, we've now responded to this initial delay in emptying, and we've got more people on the job and making sure that dog owners are acting responsibly, so we're not seeing dog fouling on the pavements, which can still be reported, by the way. So if anyone is irresponsible enough to let their dog foul the pavement, you should report that to us and we will respond accordingly. But we are actively responding to the increased amount of that product. So,
I think this is a question of just, bear with us on some of these things. We'll get there. We will get there. It's not quite business as usual, but we will get there. Okay, moving on to, I keep saying this is a really important topic. They're all really, really important topics, and probably really none more so than the next one I'm going to introduce, which is self-isolating and helping the vulnerable. Councillor Robinson, we had an email in saying, from somebody saying that we are self-isolating and are struggling to get supplies. Can you help? What can we say to them?
Well, the Chelmsford City Council and all the other districts and boroughs in Essex have worked closely with the Essex County Council, and jointly we've created the new Essex Welfare Service, the Essex Community Shield. The Essex Welfare Service is a single point of contact for if you need help. And the way it works is that anybody who needs help, anybody who wants to offer help, and anybody who wants to refer someone who they think needs help, all three groups should contact the Essex Welfare Service. And you can do that at Essex Welfare Service, which is all one word, essexwelfareservice.org.uk, or you can phone them on 0300 303 9988. The Essex Welfare Service will take down the details of anybody who needs help or anybody who wants to volunteer, and will pass that help on or that need for help to the relevant agencies. And I'd like to take this opportunity, because I've seen we've had a couple of comments about volunteers, to thank all the amazing volunteers who have come forward to help over the last few weeks. It's been great to see. Now, what I would say is thank you very much. And if you haven't yet heard, if you've offered to volunteer, but you haven't yet had your offer taken up, please bear with us, because actually with everybody at home, there have been so many fantastic people volunteering. And at the moment, the only people that we've been able to contact are what is known as the highly vulnerable. That's the people who have really serious health problems. And we have about 2,500, 3,000 or so. We're not exactly sure. We have about 3,000 of those in Chelmsford, 28,000 across Essex. And over the last week, 10 days, the health service has been contacting all of those people to check if they're okay and if they need help. Now, from today or yesterday, today, and the next few days, we are starting to contact everybody else who may be in need of help. That's older people, other people who are in vulnerable categories, and we'll be contacting them. We've also, at the City Council, we've decided that we wanted to put out a leaflet to everybody, so that should be dropping through your doors in the next day or so. And GPs have been contacting their patients to check whether they're okay as well. So we expect more people to be needing help, and that coming forward over the next few days. And we are at the City Council working very closely with the Chelmsford Centre for Supporting Voluntary Action, and we've set up a working group that's working with them to match volunteers with the need for help. And we've got some amazing groups right across Chelmsford, from Danbury to Roxwell, from Great Waltham to Southwood and Ferrers, and everywhere in between. We've got neighbourhood groups everywhere, and it's been really great to see them springing up. And I'd really like to thank everybody who's volunteering. Thank you very much, because you are providing a really important service to help those people who have to self-isolate because they're vulnerable. So thank you very much to those volunteers, and we will carry on working with them. So just finally to remind you, if you need help, go to essexwelfareservice.org.uk or ring 0300 303 9988. Thanks.
Thank you. That's really important, those details there, and we'll make sure that they are already on our website as well. So if you need any further information about where to go to for help and support, or how to offer help and support, then obviously go to the Essex Welfare Service. And for any other information, in fact, you can go to the Chelmsford City Council website, chelmsford.gov.uk/coronavirus, and that provides you lots of extra information there as well. So we're nearly time to wrap up. We've had a few kind of questions come in while we've been talking. I think we've been through a few of the kind of key ones which we've been trying to pick up. Questions about business grants and volunteer groups and that kind of stuff. We've also had a few questions come in just before the session started as well, so just to pick up a couple of those. There have been some questions about getting refunds for theatre tickets. Obviously, you know, the theatres have had to cancel, you know, cancel or postpone all of their productions and their events, which is, you know, a terribly sad time for everybody. But of course, it's right that, you know, people, if you're asking for a refund, they should get your money back. We are processing all of those refunds at the moment. Have to level with you, it's taken a bit longer than we would have liked to get that set up, and one of the reasons is a purely technical reason, which is that we have been a lot of our staff are obviously working from home, and getting them set up from home has taken a bit longer with some of the software that we need. In particular, the box office software has taken a bit longer to get set up on their devices at home than we would have liked. But we are now at the point where we're starting to process all of those refunds and everything. So bear with us, there are thousands of those to go through, but we will, if you're one of the people that's waiting for a refund, we will get to you. Just give us a little bit of time to work our way through those, please. Yeah, bear with us, but we're working on it. And then we had a Facebook comment come in saying some councils are already cancelling Race for Life events. Chelmsford's event is of course not until Sunday the 26th of July. When can we expect an announcement from Chelmsford City Council as the park owners as to whether it might go ahead? This is for people, for organisations that are hiring our parks, and Race for Life is one of those organisations. It's the organisers of the event that would make any announcement about any cancellations. So, you know, look out for their for the organisers of any event, not just Race for Life. Look out for their announcements and follow them. I'd like to, so I think we're going to wrap up now. I really would like to say a big thank you to everybody who's been watching this. Thank you for submitting all of your questions. This is, as I said at the very beginning, this is something really new for us, but we're hoping that it's helpful. We hope that it's something that we can do more of in the future. And in fact, even when we go back to what was kind of normal life, if we ever get back to exactly that kind of life again, I don't know, but maybe this is something that we could continue going forward as well, a few more kind of virtual meetings to make it easier for people who can't get to public meetings to come along and get in touch with the council and your elected representatives. But of course, when we do get back to, public physical meetings, then please do come along to the council, come along, participate, ask questions at public meetings. And Councillor McCrory, and obviously a fan, saying, I can see you on Facebook. But you can stay up to date with the latest on the council services, as I said before, on the Chelmsford City Council website at chelmsford.gov.uk. I would like to echo what Councillor Robinson just said and say a huge thank you to all of our staff here at the council, who are doing a fantastic job working in very trying circumstances, but just trying to make sure that we run as many services as we possibly can, as much as business as usual as we possibly can. And I know they're working incredibly hard on that, so thank you very much to them. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of the volunteers, and there are far too many of them to mention, and a lot of the volunteers will be people watching this right now. So I'd like to say thank you. Communities don't exist without communities helping each other, and you are responsible for building a really strong community here in Chelmsford and making sure that we all come out of this the other side. So thank you very much to everybody there, and just thank you to everybody who is following the rules, following the guidance, and doing everything they can to keep everybody safe. So stay at home, protect the NHS, and save lives. From all of us here at Chelmsford City Council, have a fantastic Easter weekend, whatever you manage to do. We hope to see you at some points in the future, whether it's virtually or physically, but we'll continue trying to do this, and we hope it's been helpful. Thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.